Real quick, I wanted to talk about those Congress in your kitchens and your town halls. They seem to be very successful. What type of feedback are you getting from your residents? What are the concerns on their minds?
I think everybody now is concerned about the same thing. They're concerned about what is our plan to beat this epidemic and to resume our normal lives. And in the meantime, because we all know that can't happen right now, what can we do to make it economically possible for people to survive this? And as you know, there's a lot that we're doing that I can report on, but it's not gone perfectly, and people have a lot of concerns about some of the federal programs that we've put into place. So that's mostly what we're talking about right now.
And that's excellent because I think that's on the minds of a lot of constituents here in Springfield and also Union County. One thing that really hits home for us, among several things, is our small businesses. Our small businesses are really taking a hit. We have a lot, as well as all over the country. We, in particular in Springfield, have a lot of local businesses, a lot of local owners here that have been just scratching and clawing to make their way. We have a business improvement district that's been doing a heck of a job in supporting them and getting messages out to the residents as much as possible. But I know there's some things that you've talked about on the federal level that could also help support our businesses along with the state. I was just wondering if you might be able to give us a little idea of what's going on currently.
Yeah, there are a bunch of programs out there, including what I think is the centerpiece of our economic relief, the Paycheck Protection Program, which is designed to allow every small business that has been hurt by this crisis to apply for a loan that is 100% forgivable, 100% free money if you retain your employees on payroll. That's the way it's supposed to work. And I think for some of our small business owners, it's begun to work. But for a lot of others, there's still frustration trying to even get applications in and figure out whether this is going to help. So we've been working to fix that. Number one, I've been talking to the banks because we set this up to run through local banks. Some of those banks imposed requirements early on that were frustrating for a lot of small business owners. Like, you've got to not only be an account holder at that bank, but you've got to have an existing loan relationship with that bank, which is not what Congress intended, but that's what a lot of banks decided to do. So we've been talking to them. We've been trying to give them more confidence and reassurance that the money will be there if they get it out the door. And we're passing another bill, hopefully in the next few days, to inject more money into that program so that, number one, there's enough for every small business that needs it. And number two, so the banks have the confidence that we're not going to leave them holding the bag in the end.
No, and that's great. The other epidemic that, because of this epidemic, the other big thing that's going on right now is unemployment. Fourth week in a row. We've just hit record numbers. I know that there's something called the CARES Act that has come to pass, and I was just wondering if you might be able to tell everybody about that for a little bit.
Yeah, the CARES Act is the biggest piece of legislation we passed. It included that small business program that I just described to you. It also extended and enhanced unemployment benefits. So on top of what you would normally get, there's a $600 plus up that the federal government will be giving to everybody. Can hold on to unemployment longer. And really, really important, a lot of people who wouldn't have qualified for unemployment in the past, like gig workers and independent contractors, sole proprietors, et cetera, now do qualify for unemployment. Just as with the small business program, it's a huge amount of money that was supposed to go out really quickly in a new way, and the system wasn't built to handle it. So it's been a struggle. But if you're entitled to it, you're going to get it. And I'm just sorry that the process is more frustrating than ideally it should be.
Yeah, I mean, again, who knew that the technology that we use to have all these programs would be able to handle this amount of load of people? You never would have thought that you would have to do that, but unfortunately, that is the case now. Um, there is some talk this week. The federal government did announce that some stimulus money will be coming into some residents and some businesses. How is that going to work? Is money going to be directly deposited into accounts? Do they have to have their taxes done already? What is the process and procedure for that happening? Because I know that's on a lot of people's minds too.
Yeah. So the stimulus checks are going out to people starting this week.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have given the IRS your direct deposit, your bank direct deposit info in the past,
Mm-hmm.
say in your last year's tax return,
Mm-hmm.
then if you qualify for this based on your income, you will get $1,200 per individual,
Mm-hmm.
$500 per child. That will be direct deposited in your bank account, hopefully this week, if it hasn't gone out already. If IRS does not have your direct deposit info, then they are putting up a web portal where you can give it to them. And that should be up this week. If it's not already, I should have checked this morning, but that should be up this week. So, and if you don't do that, then they're going to be mailing out old-fashioned checks to everybody else. And that's going to probably not happen until early May. There's a little additional delay in that process because President Trump decided he wanted his name on the checks. So that's apparently adding a few days. Not my top priority, but there you have it.
Sure. Speaking of one of your priorities, and I know that you've been concentrating a lot on this, is the restoring the SALT deduction. Has there been any headway? Is there another piece of legislation coming the way? Has entered any part of the conversation moving forward on your end?
It's part of the conversation. I ran on this, as you know, we desperately need it. It's ridiculous that 2017 tax bill gave us basically double taxation, first time in American history. We are not able to deduct our state and local taxes from our federal income taxes. I led an effort in the House last year to try to get us back SALT, and we passed a bill in the House of Representatives in December to fully restore the SALT deduction. It went over to the Senate, and so far, Mitch McConnell has not expressed any interest in moving it, but we're doing our part in the House. We have, a lot of us, including me, have said that the next coronavirus relief bill should at least temporarily provide SALT relief, because it's another great way of getting money into the hands of middle-class taxpayers in America. And Speaker of the House Pelosi endorsed that idea. And so we will try to get it, at least in the House, into the next big bill. I don't want to deceive anybody on this. I think there will still be opposition from Leader McConnell in the Senate. And as with anything, we'll have to see what we can get. We're going to get some of the things we want, but not all of them. All I can say is I keep on trying. I will keep on fighting. And eventually we're gonna get that, and we're just gonna have to break through resistance on the other side.
No, and again, we appreciate your work towards that goal, and I know that's been close to your heart since you started here, and we definitely appreciate your efforts. Speaking of efforts, I know that throughout the state and the country, we're doing all of our part to flatten the curve. Are we there? Are we close? Where are we right now in what you see from the state and national level?
I think we're close in New Jersey. And look, this is a really hard time right now. We're at the peak of this thing, and we've lost almost 3,000 lives in the state of New Jersey. There are a lot of people right now in intensive care, in critical care, and there's no cure for this disease. We'll save as many as we can, but there will be a lot of tragic news tomorrow and the day after and the day after. But the good news is we are flattening the curve. what we are all doing by staying home, by shutting these businesses, by accepting that sacrifice, is making it possible for our hospitals, for our frontline healthcare workers to manage this without being overwhelmed, without being broken. And the evidence is that that is working. If you look at the daily hospital statistics, you will see that the number of people who are on ventilators, the number of people who are in critical care, in intensive care, it's going up or down a little bit each day, but over the last week or so, it's pretty much holding steady, probably a slight increase over the last week or so, but still below that line where we can't manage it anymore. And that's good evidence that what we are doing is working. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see that graph start going down in terms of those critical hospital resources that are being used. So let's keep this up and then come together as a community to take care of each other, both in terms of our physical and mental well-being and making sure that we can survive economically.
Sure. And I know that we've talked a lot about PPE equipment or PPE and also ventilators for our hospitals. And we have gotten a lot of help from other areas and also a slew of volunteers. And that's what I wanted to touch on as well. People, especially in Springfield, they want to volunteer. They want to do their part. They're making masks. They're doing all these things to help. Where is there anywhere people can go? Any source that they can go to in order to find out ways to volunteer to help out others that are less fortunate?
Yeah, well, I know one place they can go is to go to their mayor. And, our municipal governments are doing heroic work right now, just consolidating all these local resources, giving people a place if they want to sew a mask, if they want to volunteer. There have been websites that have been set up in a lot of towns, which I think are really great. I've tried to create some of those opportunities because, I've got a lot of people who want to volunteer to help my reelection campaign. I'm not worried about my reelection campaign right now. And so we've been redirecting all those people to volunteer activities. We set up a project that anybody can sign up for, whether you're for me politically or not, doesn't matter. We set up a project where volunteers can call and check in on seniors in our community who may be feeling isolated and alone right now. We've been doing supply drives for food kitchens across the 7th district that I represent. So people can contact me on that. And then, we just mentioned the stimulus checks.
Yeah.
A lot of us are going to be getting $1,200, $2,400, maybe more if we have kids. And a lot of folks are going to need that money. And my message is, if you need the stimulus check because you've lost your job, your small business is shut, then keep it. By all means, that's for you. But for those who are fortunate enough to still have their salaries, to still have their jobs, to be doing okay economically, and you get that $1,200 check, I would ask that you consider donating it to organizations that are helping people in need right now. It's as simple as going to the United Way, for example, which will give you a lot of good recommendations, or think about a local charity in your hometown, or just spend that $1,200 getting gift cards from local small businesses right now. Just give them that cash, and then you can get your goods and services from them in November or next year. Let's try to organize ourselves so that that money is all put to good use, whether we need it for our own families or not.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And I also wanted to ask you too, because I know that this was another executive order that came down from our governor about the changing of the primary date to July 7th. Do you anticipate that being perhaps, and again, just thinking about what happened in Wisconsin, do you anticipate this primary to be an all mail-in ballot, or has that, what is your feelings on that? Where do you think we should go with that? What direction?
That decision hasn't been made. We've postponed it. We haven't decided how we're going to do it yet. I think our state leadership will make that call based on how well we're doing in beating back the epidemic. The good news is in New Jersey, we at least all have the option to vote by mail. So anybody who wants to do it can. And that's what we need everywhere in the country. And there's still states that don't give everybody that option. And so I've been pushing in the House for a national mandate to ensure that every state at least does what New Jersey does and gives people the freedom to choose to vote by mail if they want to do it. And I'm afraid, November, I'm less worried about the primary. I'm afraid in November, if we see this epidemic resurging, which is possible, that we're going to have chaos in states that don't allow vote by mail. So that's my worry.
Congressman, I do appreciate your time, and I know we've gone through several different subjects because I know that we have a limited time with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. Is there anything that I haven't covered that we haven't touched on that you would like to talk about or bring up, or you think it's important for constituents to know, or residents, small business owners, anybody really to know that we haven't covered in this short amount of time?
Thanks. The only thing I would add is that if anybody needs help individually dealing with any of these federal programs, they should reach out to my office. Doing it directly or through you doesn't matter. Just let us know if you're a small business owner, you're banging your head against the wall, trying to get that loan money. If you're having real trouble with the unemployment system, we can't solve every problem, but we do want to try to help people out. And we've got a lot of cases that we've taken up already where we've been able to help folks. So I want to hear from you individually. I want to make sure that we do what we can to help. And when I hear from you individually, that also tells us what problems are out there that we've got to fix in the next piece of legislation.
Congressman Tom Malinowski, I want to thank you very much for your time. And again, as I said before, you and particularly to Springfield, you've been a true friend and a true advocate for us. You've been, whenever we ask you to do something, you've done it and then some. And we appreciate your visits. We appreciate you coming by and all that you're doing for us, both here and on the national level. And I really do appreciate your time to come and speak to me and everybody. And great information as always. And keep up the good work.
Thank you, and look forward to coming to visit in person whenever that becomes possible.
That's excellent. We'd love to have you. Thank you very much, Congressman.
Right.